The massive view screen aboard the Xeraxian flagship Eternal Dominance displayed Earth's orbital defense network with crystal clarity. High Admiral Vex Thor's iridescent scales rippled with barely contained disdain as he studied the primitive human constructions. His species had mastered faster-than-light travel when humans were still fighting with crude projectile weapons, or so their intelligence suggested. Magnificent, isn't it? His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Krell, gestured at the human installations. They've achieved spaceflight in merely 3 centuries since their industrial revolution. Magnificent. Vex Thor's auxiliary breathing vents flared in amusement. I see nothing but obsolete technology and vulnerable defenses. Our fleet of 10,000 ships will crush them in hours. The Xeraxian invasion force hung like a dark cloud beyond Mars' orbit, their stealth fields rendering them invisible to conventional human detection systems. Each ship bore the distinctive crystalline architecture of Xeraxian engineering. Organic curves melded with geometric precision, all powered by zero-point energy cores that humans couldn't even dream of understanding. Or so they thought. Deep within the Lunar Defense Command, Dr. Emily Santos stared at her quantum detection array's readout with growing concern. The experimental system, hidden from public knowledge, and even most military personnel, painted a very different picture than conventional sensors. "Admiral Chen," she called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "The QDA is picking up massive gravitational distortions beyond Mars. They're trying to hide, but you can't mask quantum fluctuations." Admiral James Chen, a veteran of the Mars Colonies War, moved to her station with practiced calm. His weathered face showed no emotion as he studied the readings, but his mind was already calculating possibilities. The Xeraxian diplomatic mission 2 months ago had seemed too interested in Earth's defensive capabilities. Now he knew why. How many ships, Doctor? 10,000. Give or take a few dozen. Their energy signatures suggest advanced weaponry we've never encountered before. Chen allowed himself a small smile. But not quantum technology. No, sir. They're still using zero-point energy. Advanced, but... She paused, looking up at him. They don't know about Project Prometheus, do they? That's our advantage, Doctor. Initiate silent deployment of the quantum buoys, and get me Captain Sarah Chen on the TNS Odyssey. Aboard the Eternal Dominance, High Admiral Vex Thor prepared to address his fleet. The humans' pitiful attempt at diplomacy 2 months ago had revealed everything he needed to know. Their technology was centuries behind, their defenses laughably basic, and their species ripe for conquest. Warriors of the Xeraxian Empire, his voice boomed across the fleet's communication channels. Before us lies another primitive world, destined to join our glorious empire. Their pathetic attempts at space travel and defense show their inferiority. We offer them the honor of submission to Xeraxian rule. The standard procedure was simple: reveal their overwhelming force, demand immediate surrender, and crush any resistance with devastating firepower. It had worked on 17 other civilizations. Disengage stealth fields, Vex Thor commanded. Let them witness true power. As 10,000 Xeraxian warships shimmered into visibility, alarms blared across Earth's defense network. Civilian satellites caught the massive fleet materializing, and panic spread across social media within seconds. Emergency broadcasts interrupted regular programming, and planetary defense forces scrambled to battle stations. But in the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Chen remained calm. "Dr. Santos, are the quantum buoys in position?" "Yes, sir. All 30,000 of them, surrounding the Xeraxian fleet in a 3-dimensional grid. They don't suspect a thing." "Excellent." Chen opened a channel to the TNS Odyssey. "Sarah, are you ready?" Captain Sarah Chen's voice came through clear and confident. "The Odyssey's quantum drive is primed and ready, Dad. Just give the word." High Admiral Vex Thor's mandibles clicked in satisfaction as his communications officer prepared to broadcast their demands for Earth's surrender. But before he could speak, something impossible happened. 30,000 tiny devices, previously invisible to Xeraxian sensors, suddenly activated around his fleet. The space between them warped in ways his scientists had never theorized possible. And through that twisted space came a single human ship, smaller than his smallest cruiser but glowing with energy that made his sensor officers scream in disbelief. "High Admiral," Krell shouted. "The human vessel. It's generating quantum fields we can't even measure." Vexthor's victory speech died in his throat as he realized that perhaps, just perhaps, he had made a terrible mistake in underestimating humanity's potential. The first battle for Earth was about to begin, and nothing in the Zeraxian Empire's glorious history had prepared them for what was coming. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the TNAS Odyssey, her hands resting lightly on the quantum interface console. The experimental ship hummed with power that humanity had only dreamed of a decade ago. Through the advanced neural link, she could feel every quantum fluctuation, every ripple in space-time around her vessel. "All systems operational," reported Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez, her quantum systems officer. "The buoy network is maintaining stable quantum entanglement fields. We're ready to execute Protocol Prometheus." The Odyssey's bridge bore little resemblance to traditional spacecraft control centers. Instead of conventional screens and controls, curved quantum crystalline displays wrapped around the crew, showing higher dimensional data that traditional sensors couldn't detect. Each officer wore a neural interface that connected them directly to the ship's quantum systems. "Status of the Zeraxian fleet?" Sarah asked, her eyes tracking the multidimensional tactical display. "They're attempting to analyze our quantum signature," Maya responded. "But their zero-point sensors can't make sense of it. It's like trying to understand a cube by looking at its shadow." 20 years ago, when humanity discovered the quantum realm wasn't just for particles, but could be harnessed on a macroscopic scale, everything changed. While the Zeraxians had mastered zero-point energy and faster-than-light travel, they'd taken the obvious path. Humanity, with its shorter spacefaring history, had been forced to think differently. Aboard the Eternal Dominance, High Admiral Vexthor's composure was cracking. "Explain to me," he hissed at his chief scientist, "how one human vessel is generating energy signatures that our most advanced sensors cannot quantify." The scientist, Dr. Zix, gestured frantically at his displays. "High Admiral, they're manipulating quantum fields on a scale we thought impossible. Their ship isn't just traveling through space, it's manipulating the fabric of reality itself." "Impossible." Vexthor slammed his clawed hand down. "They were barely achieving orbital flight 3 centuries ago." "Sometimes," Dr. Zix said quietly, "necessity breeds innovation in unexpected ways." On the Odyssey, Sarah received a private communication from her father. "The quantum buoy network is fully charged." Admiral Chen's voice came through. "Remember, we're not here to destroy them. Show them enough to make them reconsider." "Understood," Sarah replied. Beginning Phase 1 of Protocol Prometheus. She placed her hands on the quantum interface, feeling the ship's systems merge with her consciousness. The neural link allowed her to perceive quantum states directly, seeing possibilities that even the most advanced computers couldn't calculate. Lieutenant Rodriguez initialized the quantum field cascade. Maya's fingers danced across her crystalline console. Quantum cascade initiating. Warning the fleet. Throughout the Odyssey, crews braced themselves. What they were about to attempt had only been tested in simulations. The quantum buoy network activated, creating a complex web of entangled fields around the Zeraxian fleet. Each buoy linked to its neighbors, forming a hyperdimensional matrix that even the Odyssey's computers struggled to fully model. "Phase 1 complete," Maya announced. "Quantum matrix is stable, ready for dimensional shift." Sarah took a deep breath. "Execute Phase 2. The space around the Zeraxian fleet began to twist. Not in a crude, energy-intensive way their own FTL drives worked, but in subtle, elegant patterns that defied conventional physics. The quantum fields weren't just bending space, they were rewriting the local laws of physics themselves. Alarms blared throughout the Zeraxian fleet as ship after ship lost power. Their zero-point energy cores, dependent on specific quantum states, suddenly found themselves operating in a region of space where those states were impossible. "High Admiral," Krell shouted in panic. 80% of the fleet is reporting total power failures. The human vessel. It's somehow changed the fundamental constants in our sector of space. Vexthor watched in horror as 8,000 of his ships went dark, drifting helplessly in the altered space. His mighty fleet, pride of the Xeraxian Empire, neutralized without a single shot fired. The remaining ships, Sarah commanded, target their weapons only. Minimal force. The Odyssey moved with impossible grace, its quantum drives allowing it to exist in multiple probabilistic states simultaneously. To the Xeraxian gunners, it seemed to be everywhere and nowhere, their targeting systems unable to lock onto a ship that could literally choose which reality it occupied from moment to moment. Precise quantum beams lanced out from the Odyssey, not destroying but surgically disabling the weapon systems of the remaining Xeraxian ships. Each shot represented countless calculations through the neural interface, ensuring maximum effect with minimal casualties. In the Lunar Command Center, Dr. Santos watched the quantum readings with a mix of pride and awe. "Protocol Prometheus is exceeding all test parameters," she reported to Admiral Chen. "The quantum fields are stable, and the Xeraxian fleet is effectively neutralized." Admiral Chen nodded, his expression grave despite their success. "Now comes the hard part," he said, convincing them to talk instead of fight. The quantum gambit had worked perfectly, demonstrating humanity's technological leap without destroying their potential adversaries. But as Sarah Chen looked at the disabled Xeraxian fleet through her quantum sensors, she knew this was just the beginning. The real challenge would be turning this moment of conflict into an opportunity for understanding. High Admiral Vexthor's pride burned hotter than a neutron star as he watched his mighty fleet drift powerless in space. But the Xeraxian Empire hadn't conquered 17 civilizations by giving up at the first sign of resistance. He still had one card to play. The Eternal Dominance carried prototype quantum shielding, developed in secret after detecting unusual energy signatures from Earth months ago. "Activate the quantum shields," he ordered, his scales darkening with determination. "And send the signal." Deep in the outer solar system, hidden behind Neptune's orbit, a second Xeraxian fleet of 5,000 ships waited. They represented the Empire's most advanced vessels, equipped with experimental technology stolen from various conquered civilizations. On the Tina's Odyssey, Lieutenant Rodriguez's quantum sensors suddenly flared with warnings. "Captain, detecting massive quantum disturbances beyond Neptune. New signatures incoming." Sarah Chen washed through the quantum interface as space itself twisted, depositing the reinforcement fleet directly into the battle zone. These ships were different. Their energy signatures showed signs of crude but functional quantum technology. "Dad," she called Admiral Chen. "They've been studying us longer than we thought." "Agreed." Her father's voice was tense. "Dr. Santos reports their quantum shielding is primitive but effective. Our current strategy won't work twice." The new Xeraxian vessels moved with unprecedented coordination, their formations creating overlapping quantum fields that partially nullified the effects of the human boy network. High Admiral Vexthor's flagship suddenly surged with power as its experimental shields came online. To all ships, Vexthor broadcast, his voice carrying the weight of imperial authority. "Execute Protocol Omega. Show these humans the true might of the Xeraxian Empire." The reinforcement fleet's weapons were unlike anything seen before. Instead of conventional energy weapons, they fired beams that distorted probability itself, creating zones where disaster became nearly certain. Several quantum buoys winked out of existence as the laws of physics in their vicinity went haywire. "Multiple quantum anomalies detected," Maya reported, her hands flying over her console. "They're using weaponized uncertainty principles. If those beams hit us—" "They won't," Sarah assured her crew. The neural interface hummed as she merged deeper with the Odyssey's systems. The ship wasn't just technology anymore. It was an extension of human consciousness, guided by intuition as much as physics. In the Lunar Command Center, Dr. Santos worked frantically to adapt their quantum fields. "Admiral, their weapons are crude but effective. They're brute-forcing quantum mechanics instead of working with it. We need to change tactics." Admiral Chen studied the tactical display, his military experience combining with their new understanding of quantum physics. "Sarah," he called his daughter, "implement case Omega-7. "That's still theoretical," Sarah responded, but her hands were already moving across the interface. "Theory becomes practice when we have no choice," her father replied, "just like it did when we first developed quantum technology." The Odyssey's systems reconfigured as Sarah initiated the experimental protocol. Instead of fighting against the Ziraxians' probability weapons, they would use them. The quantum buoy network shifted, creating a complex web of entangled states that turned the enemy's weapons against themselves. High Admiral Vexthor watched in growing horror as his fleet's attacks began to rebound, their own probability distortions reflecting back at them. Ships started disappearing, not destroyed but shifted into other quantum states, effectively removed from this reality. "Impossible," Dr. Zix shouted, his instruments overwhelmed by the cascade of quantum effects. "They're not just manipulating space, they're manipulating causality itself." The battle descended into quantum chaos as the Odyssey danced through probability space, its human crew working in perfect harmony with their technology. Unlike the Ziraxians, who tried to dominate quantum mechanics through brute force, the humans had learned to flow with it, to understand its patterns and quirks. Final warning. Sarah broadcast to the remaining Ziraxian ships. "Your weapons are destabilizing local spacetime. If you don't stand down, the quantum cascade will be irreversible." On the Eternal Dominance, High Admiral Vexthor faced a decision that would shape the future of two civilizations. His reinforcement fleet was scattered across probability space, his stolen quantum technology proven worse than useless, and his understanding of warfare fundamentally shaken. The pride of 17 conquests warred with the survival instinct of his species. In all their history of expansion, the Ziraxians had never encountered a civilization that could match, let alone exceed, their technological prowess. But in just a few hours, humanity had done both. Through the quantum interface, Sarah Chen sensed the moment Vexthor's determination wavered. In that instant, she understood something profound about the nature of conflict and advancement. Sometimes, the greatest victory wasn't in destroying an enemy, but in showing them a better way. As the quantum chaos began to stabilize, the solar system held its breath, waiting to see if this would be the end of a war or the beginning of something far more interesting. The next few moments would determine whether humanity had made an eternal enemy or opened the door to an unprecedented partnership. The silence in space felt heavier than a neutron star's core. High Admiral Vexthor stood motionless on his bridge, his iridescent scales dulled with the weight of what he'd witnessed. The Eternal Dominance's quantum shields flickered uncertainly, struggling against forces their designers had never imagined possible. "High Admiral," Dr. Zix spoke softly, his claws trembling as he analyzed the readings. "The human quantum technology, it's not just advanced. It's elegant. They're not fighting the quantum realm. They're dancing with it." Through the neural interface of the TNS Odyssey, Sarah Chen could sense the turmoil aboard the Ziraxian flagship. The quantum fields revealed emotional states as clearly as energy signatures, showing her the complex wave of fear, respect, and curiosity rippling through the alien crew. "Captain," Maya reported, "the remaining Ziraxian ships are powering down their probability weapons. Their quantum signatures are stabilizing." In the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Chen and Dr. Santos watched the tactical displays with cautious optimism. The quantum buoy network had begun automatically repairing the probability damage, healing the torn fabric of spacetime. "They're sending a transmission," Dr. Santos announced. "Text only, quantum encrypted." The message was simple: "We request dialogue." Sarah smiled slightly, feeling the quantum fields settling into more harmonious patterns. "Dad, I think we should show them something else." something beyond weapons. Admiral Chen understood immediately. Dr. Santos initialized Project Harmony. The Quantum Buoy network shifted its configuration, no longer focused on defense but on communication. The space between the human and Xeraxian vessels filled with intricate patterns of quantum entanglement, creating a bridge of understanding that transcended conventional language. Through this quantum bridge, the Xeraxians received their first true glimpse of humanity. Not just their technology, but their art, their music, their dreams, all translated into quantum states that spoke directly to consciousness itself. They saw how humans had developed quantum technology not primarily for war, but for exploration, communication, and creation. On the Eternal Dominance, High Admiral Vex Thor experienced something he'd never felt in all his years of conquest: genuine awe. Through the quantum interface, he saw how humanity had taken their late arrival to space travel and turned it into an advantage. Without preconceptions about what was impossible, they'd followed paths of discovery that the Xeraxian Empire had dismissed centuries ago. Dr. Zix, he said slowly, what would happen if we combined our zero-point technology with their quantum understanding? The scientist's eyes widened as calculations raced through his mind. High Admiral, the possibilities would be infinite. Sarah Chen guided the Odyssey closer to the Eternal Dominance, maintaining the quantum bridge. Through it, she could sense the change in the Xeraxian leadership, the shift from conquest to curiosity, from domination to dialogue. This is what we wanted to show you, she transmitted through the quantum field. Not just our strength, but our vision. We developed this technology because we dreamed of reaching the stars, not conquering them. In the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Chen watched as quantum signatures across the solar system began harmonizing. The previously chaotic interference patterns between human and Xeraxian technology started forming new, stable configurations that neither side had predicted. Dr. Santos stared at her readings in amazement. Admiral, their zero-point systems are naturally synchronizing with our quantum network. The physical principles, they're complementary. We never saw it before because we were approaching them as separate phenomena. Aboard the Eternal Dominance, Dr. Zix was reaching the same conclusion. High Admiral, their quantum manipulation explains anomalies we've observed in zero-point energy for centuries. Together, we could revolutionize our understanding of the universe itself. Vex Thor felt the weight of 17 conquered civilizations on his shoulders, but also the potential of something greater. The Empire had grown through force, but perhaps it could evolve through cooperation. This single human ship had shown him more about the nature of power and progress than all his years of military conquest. Send word to the Imperial Council, he commanded. The situation at Earth has changed. We are no longer seeking conquest. We are proposing an alliance. Through the quantum bridge, Sarah Chen sensed the sincerity of his words. The Xeraxians' military pride had been transformed into scientific curiosity, their desire for dominance redirected toward discovery. Lieutenant Rodriguez, she called, expand the quantum harmonics. Let's show them what happens when we work together instead of against each other. As the quantum fields merged with Xeraxian zero-point energy systems, new possibilities blossomed in the space between the fleets. The combined technologies created visualizations of scientific principles that neither species had fully understood alone, painting the void with the mathematics of creation itself. The tables had turned not through destruction, but through revelation. In seeking to conquer Earth, the Xeraxian Empire had instead found something far more valuable, a partner in unlocking the deepest mysteries of existence. 3 days after the quantum confrontation, the solar system bore witness to an unprecedented sight. The TNS Odyssey and the Eternal Dominance hung in high Earth orbit, their quantum and zero-point fields intertwined in a spectacular display of cooperative technology. Around them, teams of human and Xeraxian scientists worked together, sharing discoveries that were already reshaping both civilizations' understanding of the universe. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the newly created quantum conference chamber aboard the Odyssey, where reality itself served as a medium of communication. Through the merged technologies, she could perceive High Admiral Vexthor not just visually, but on multiple quantum levels, understanding his thoughts and emotions as clearly as spoken words. The Imperial Council has reviewed our findings, Vexthor announced, his quantum signature radiating sincerity. They've agreed to transform the Empire's conquest directive into an initiative for collaborative advancement. Dr. Santos, who had joined them from Lunar Command, worked with Dr. Zix at a combined quantum zero-point interface. The mathematical harmonies between our technologies are beyond anything we theorized, she said, manipulating a complex multidimensional display. Every hour of cooperation reveals new possibilities. Admiral Chen watched from his command center as the Quantum Boy network, now integrated with Xeraxian technology, created a comprehensive defensive grid around Earth that doubled as a deep space research platform. To think, he mused, we achieved more in 3 days of cooperation than we could have in decades of conflict. The combined fleet had become a symbol of transformation. Xeraxian ships, their systems now enhanced by quantum technology, helped stabilize the probability damage from the battle. Human vessels learned to incorporate zero-point principles, dramatically improving their efficiency and capabilities. We were wrong about primitives, Vexthor admitted, his scales shimmering with humility. We thought technological age equated to advancement. Instead, your species' youth gave you the freedom to imagine possibilities we had long dismissed. Through the quantum interface, Sarah shared images of humanity's journey. From the first telescopes to quantum spaceflight, we had to be innovative, she explained. When you're centuries behind, you can't afford to follow the same paths as everyone else. Dr. Zix's excitement was palpable as he demonstrated a new discovery. By combining our zero-point energy with human quantum fields, we can create stable wormholes with a fraction of the energy cost. The implications for exploration are staggering. The news of peace spread through both civilizations, though in very different ways. On Earth, people celebrated the arrival of advanced alien allies and the validation of human innovation. Throughout the Xeraxian Empire, a profound shift began as worlds under their dominion learned of an alternative to conquest, partnership, and mutual growth. The question remains, Admiral Chen said during a joint council meeting, how do we prevent future misunderstandings? Not every first contact will end in such harmonious cooperation. The answer came from an unexpected source. Maya Rodriguez, working with a team of Xeraxian engineers, had developed a new form of quantum beacon. We can create a network of quantum zero-point navigational markers, she explained. Any spacefaring civilization would recognize them as signs of advanced technology and an invitation to communicate rather than conflict. The first of these beacons was deployed at the edge of the solar system, its hybrid technology broadcasting a clear message to the galaxy. Earth was not a primitive world to be conquered, but a young civilization with much to offer and much to learn. In the quantum conference chamber, Sarah and Vexthor finalized the details of the new Human Xeraxian Science Coalition. Your quantum technology showed us we had become stagnant, Vexthor admitted. In pursuing conquest, we had stopped pursuing understanding. And your zero-point expertise will help us leap forward centuries in our development, Sarah replied. Together, we can explore questions neither of us could answer alone. As the Earth-Xeraxian fleet prepared for its first joint exploration mission, Dr. Santos made a final adjustment to the Quantum Boy network. The system now served as both a defense grid and a testament to cooperation, its intricate fields telling a story of innovation, adaptation, and the power of choosing understanding over conflict. Admiral Chen watched the combined fleet departing Earth orbit, led by the Odyssey and Eternal Dominance. Victory through innovation, he said softly, but not the kind of victory anyone expected. The stars beckoned, no longer as conquests to be claimed, but as mysteries to be explored by two civilizations that had learned the greatest power lies not in domination, but in the courage to imagine new possibilities together.